see. I'm now sharing my screen, so I can't see, but I believe Yuan, who's the project lead on, is also here, and there's a few other from the team. So we represent the wider piece of traffic management reform. There's roughly about 7 to 8 work streams associated with that, some focused on enforcement. This particular piece today will be going over the new road access permits portal and what that means for the industry. We're hoping to launch on Monday, a week from today. Just a few housekeeping sessions, and then we'll start recording. Again, if you guys could keep your mics on mute, it just sort of helps with the background noise. We will be recording. There's lots of training material. We'll go through heaps and heaps of questions. We're okay to take some questions. What you'll see is sort of a workflow here of color coordinated work. PowerPoint slides. We'll do the yellow first, and then I'll actually walk you through what that means. Then we'll go to the blue, etc. So at the end of each section, if there's a burning question that you just need to get asked for that particular topic, we can answer that then and there, or you can put your hand up. If everyone's not aware, there's the little orange hand that you can wave. But again, this is, and keep in mind, this is the first wider industry training session. So we're conducting another one tomorrow for consent, but these won't be the last. So we're still trying to get a rhythm to see how many we need, what that rhythm might be like, if it's going to be on a monthly basis, fortnightly. So just watch this space. And there's fantastic training material. I'll walk you through what that looks like. Wrap.support, that will be the new email address to get a hold. So now I'll put this up front. I understand there's a lot of pinch points, a lot of pain points around the industry, around connections between consent, MoAs, things aren't being authorized, quick turnaround times, follow-up questions. This session can't address that, and the portal can't address that. The portal, there's been money and time set aside for the portal to begin to address that. So if you're going to email wrap.support asking where your MoA is, we're not going to respond to it. So you need to continue to follow the channels. What the wrap.support email address is for, and what my role is for, is to help slowly onboard industry to the new portal. And with that vein, we will be amending the MoA hotline, but again, normal questions and queries need to follow existing channels. So I think that's it. So again, this session will be recorded. We can put a link out that. We'll walk through the training material and different components of the wrap at the portal, and then we'll close with some questions and answers, Q&A. So I think we're ready to go for the recording. Oh, it is recorded. Okay, let's get going. Kick off. All right, so thanks for everyone showing up today. It's fantastic. We've been putting a lot of work into this. The current go live date is scheduled again from a week from today. So on Monday, the 17th, I'll show you what this looks like when you launch and what expects of the industry, except for the exceptions noted here. So if you don't see the type of applications that you generally process and work with, all MoAs and consent applications will go in. New applications are intended to be submitted through portal on Monday, the 17th. Again, there's some exceptions. This is the first phase. So there's been additional funding set aside for phase 2. And that's really going to target some outstanding features like, say, extensions that aren't going to make the launch, as well as some of these other type of applications. Big build, MRPV, special events. So watch this space. It's an evolving portal. So the first phase on Monday the 17th, if you're not exempted from this list, then sorry, can we just mute? It's great that everyone's excited. Except for the exceptions, everyone on Monday the 17th will submit their applications to the portal. And so we'll just sort of go through the landing page. So that will be the landing page. That's not the actual portal itself, but on the landing page, you'll see some hyperlinks to what we're calling the knowledge base. That's got step-by-step instructions. The team's done a lot of work. Now, these are, again, they can be updated as new features are rolled in, but currently on the launch date, the step-by-step instructions are designed to help support the industry from what the current construction of the portal looks like today. And then as new features come on, we can update the the additional forms and instructions. Additionally, under Contact Us, there's a set of frequently asked questions. And again, those can be updated as new features. New for this specific audience, again, this is if you're dealing with consent, you might be interested more in tomorrow's training session. Today's training session will walk through one MoA and deal primarily with traffic management and MoA related questions and queries and submissions. The way it's designed, we are shifting, so that's another work stream that's part of TMR. So we're trying to get through the new vocabulary, so accredited. So only accredited traffic management companies will be able to submit and activate and deactivate MoAs on the RAP. And they will register through the accreditation process. Now, we are capturing the wider industry through an online survey that we can show you that link. So that's how we'll get that first snapshot. Keep in mind, if you haven't done the survey and that come post Monday, October 17th, we can still register. It'll just take maybe a day or two to get you fully registered. So it's better to register earlier. At that point, there's nothing for you to do until we send out the automated email. So we have had some comments back from the industry saying, I've registered, but I haven't received anything. Hang on, we'll wait. We don't want everyone to register because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that all the back-end aspects of DOT are ready for the portal. So just hang on tight there. New companies wanting to apply for consent, they'll actually use a portal registration form. And I'll walk you through that now. So this is when we say the landing page, this is what you're looking at is the landing page. You can see down here, this is the knowledge base. So if you click on that, new page will open up. And you can look by introduction, how to apply for an MoA, how to activate and deactivate MoAs, how to apply for consent, various questions. You can take the documents. The team's done a great job on putting these together. So hopefully they're very simple, step by step. So this for the introduction one, this is sort of introduction of your new dashboard. We'll walk through that, what that looks like in a second. But there's other training material for how do you submit an MoA application. So you can download these from that website. Once the link's currently hidden, once the link goes live, we'll send that out and our step-by-step how to submit. So it should be relatively straightforward. We're going to go through these examples today. So that's on the knowledge base down here in the corner. The Contact Us has also another link. So you can see it's also got the link to the training materials here, but it's also got a set of frequently asked questions. So we are part of the wider TMR. Remit is to try to bring a bit of a consistent and greater clarity of a message. So different DOT, Vic Roads websites, links often give slightly different communication instructions. So this is an attempt to try to streamline and make sure that whatever website you might find yourself landing on, that it gives consistent, clean, and clear information. So that's from the landing page. Now, the first time you're not going to be able to sign in to the portal. What you'll receive is an email, registration email. I'll show you what that looks like. Oh, here. Let's see where we're at with the PowerPoint. We're going to timestamp these, so I don't want to jump ahead. We'll just jump over here. So that's the landing page. So I just want to, so we'll finish up with that. So this is the landing page. Traffic management companies will submit as part of the accreditation. Again, we're pulling that information now through that online survey. If you're a new construction company that you just want to apply for consent, you would click on this form here, the portal registration form. So I know the traffic companies often are asked by their clients, how do I apply for consent? So it used to be a one-step process, now it's a two-step process. So the first step is they would need to fill that in this form out and submit it to the wrap.support email. We would register them on to portal, send out the registration form. They would then register on the portal and then submit their application. So it's a two-step process, but I think it's a bit cleaner. So that's a simple form they would submit. So again, that's the hyperlink found on the landing page. Go back over here. So the dashboard, when we talk about the portal, it's RAP. have all sorts of fun jokes with that. To wrap, the road access permits portal. So this is where you can submit and monitor applications. At this point, it's only for submitting new applications. You can onboard staff and activate and deactivate MOAs. As I said previously, only accredited companies will be able to have the MOA feature. So I'll show you the buttons in the dashboard. All of them will be there as long as you're an accredited company. Otherwise, just the consent button will be there. There are two types that staff can be enrolled in, currently admin and staff. The main difference is admin can deactivate and create new members into the portal. So under the wider umbrella, I'll pick on TDG, it's always easiest. So under TDG, Traffic Diversions Group, all the staff that are onboarded under TDG will have the same access to the application submitted on behalf of TDG. So if they work for TDG, doesn't matter if they're admin or staff at this point, they'll be able to submit an MOA and activate and deactivate MOAs and have that same view. Now, we did recently complete pilot, and that had a few companies submitting MOAs and consent. Some of the feedback that they had was wanting a third edition, so that potentially only some staff could either submit an MOA or activate and deactivate the MOA, but wouldn't do both. At this point, that feature is not in place. But again, that kind of feedback is great. If you have those kind of suggestions, email the wrap.support. And it's not going to be a bucket wish list of everything. Again, there are some major hitters in here, the big build, extensions, change requests. So the second phase, there'll be the business case setup that's currently underway now to prioritize this list. But again, the portal has been designed to streamline and make working with DOT easier. So if it's an easier type of ticket, try to prioritize that and get that in place. But it's not a bucket list. It's not a wish list. I'm not going to promise that as soon as you submit a request for a type of feature that the next week it's going to get rolled out. But you never know. So definitely any kind of those suggestions. So at this point, the only two types are admin and staff. Now I'll show you what the initial contact looks like. So there'll be a hyperlink, there'll be an email that's sent to what we're calling the initial contact. That initial contact registers the company for portal. After that point in time, then the companies themselves onboard staff. Some other feedback that we got during pilot was that in some cases, particularly with the traffic management companies, less so with construction, is that they might needing to onboard more than 100 users. Just the volume of team leaders that they go in throughout Victoria, that they are the different work locations, and they need to activate and deactivate the MOAs. In that case, we are trying to come up with a potential solution, a workaround, so that we can assist with some of the onboarding. And once that's in place, we'll send that out to the industry to with further details of how that might look. The second one, again, I'll walk through what this looks like, but we're hoping to reduce some status requests and potentially help applicants in some cases, particularly with the traffic management companies. They submit a large volume of work, often 3, 4, 5 MOAs a day. So it might be difficult with all the feedback and the correspondence that from their side, they might not know exactly where an application sits. So with that, we've created some statuses. Again, these could be amended, but for now, there's 5 in place. The default of every application submitted through portal is always submitted. Once an officer begins the review, the training has been internally to start and change that status to in review. If there's any further requests, any correspondence, something's missing from an application, they can change it to waiting to details, on hold, and then there's one for PO review required. And that's how different internal teams communicate with each other to let them know when one team's completed their review, the next team needs to authorize it. So walk you through the very first step. So at some point, what you'll be getting is you'll get an email and it'll look something like this. It'll be a hyperlink. And with the email, you could just click on that hyperlink. But had some training issues this morning. So this will be the first step. So Monday morning, you'll receive an email with that hyperlink, and you click on the hyperlink, and this will be the next step. So you're going to register your company for portal. This is the first step. You click the register, redeeming the code. Then you put your email address and the different the tester. All right. So under, in this case, Bob Tester would be signing up. The company that is done has already been signed up. I think Bob's now the 5th or 6th person in there. But oh, all right. And see, this is why. So we're starting to work through this. So again, minimal viable product. So the first time you register, apologies, so I'm sure I'll be getting a lot of phone calls because I'm doing the training session. You don't click sign in, you click sign up. Well, that's great. All right. So there you go. So the first time you sign in, you click the little button. I'm trying to get the dev team to flip that around. So it's only the first time they do that. Try this again. Bob Tester. Give a name. Just do Bob Tester. There we go. Password. So I'm sure I'll get a few phone calls Tuesday on this. So the first time you sign up, you don't sign in. Then you send the verification code. Now, what we're asking for is that you put a mobile number that currently the 6-digit code goes to the email address that's provided. We're hoping that a future rollout date that would go to a smartphone. So it's important to keep that in mind. But for currently, what you would do then is the verification code would go to the email that submitted. In this case, Bob. Melanator, find that. One second.
Yeah, while we get this organized, just a reminder, please, if your organization haven't already, make sure you fill out the survey to make sure you get an account on launch day. So that's, yeah.
Yeah, thanks. So then you'll get the verification code. You would click and you just copy that into there. And then turn the details. Oh, I forgot the 2. There we go. All right, so then there's terms and conditions. So you must click on these. Great to download them. I did spend a bit of time on them, but they basically say that per everything else, the information will be housed and used potentially across different DOT teams based on need. So we're not going to share your information. It's important to note DOT does not have access to your portal. So you can screen share your portal, and we did that during pilot, but we can't actually see your we can't actually access the portal, your portal account. All right, so now Bob Tester has been set up. So now Bob would then be given admin rights. So then it'd be up to Bob in this case to then register the remaining team and staff within the company. In this case, Bayside Traffic Management. And how you would manage this, I'm not sure if I'm going to walk through that, but creating new users, these would be all the current users, and relatively straightforward with creating new users. After that, we can do user. So again, it would be good to put a valid mobile phone just for future reference. You'd either give them admin or staff or rights. You submit. We've now did carry tester. I'll just do that one more time just because for recording sake, it looks a bit silly. So now carry user is here. So we've just added carry on to the portal, but what we need to do next is send the invitation. So the invitation will be sent. And we will now sign out because you don't have to do that. Okay. Close that just so it doesn't get there, and I'll just find Carrie's email. Excuse me 1 second. Right. So again, you'll get a similar email. And in this case, we'll just hit the hyperlink. So Carrie's received the email. You click on the hyperlink, and similarly, now we'll do this. Now I'll just let's try that again. All right. There you go. So register. Again, just to further super underscore this so we don't all make the same mistake, I apologize. So the very first time you register, you don't sign in, you sign up. That's the only time. After that, you'd sign in. Apologies. Really make sure that we're all together there. Carry. Signed it. Oh, now we got another code. So you'd only do this just the first few times that going to sign up, and because of that, we can see that having to do this 150 times might be a bit onerous. So because of that, we are looking to see if we can support that. Okay. Go. Click. And now Carrie has access to the portal. So now Bob and Carrie both have access to the same portal site. That. So where are we at with the PowerPoint slides? So this is once the portal is live, you can think of the portal as sort of the front door to what we call OneView. So currently, the majority of MoA applications with DOT are processed through OneView. Everyone should be familiar with those. It's an MoA/00 and I think 6 or 7 digits. So those are valid. And how initially through pilot, it was detected that this did work. So your drafts will likely, this column here will be, that's the drafts. These are the submitted, these are the approved, and these are the expired. And these should populate based on your previous work with DOT. So if you actually have 5 authorized MOAs, you can click on that hyperlink and they should pop up here. So from the launch date on May 17th, you'll be able to see your applications and activate and deactivate. That's how it should work. All your applications, you can see the statuses here. The status is approved, suspended. There's another one with the submitted. I'll show you the submitted. So these are the different statuses. So this is in the submitted. They haven't been authorized yet. So again, as opposed to calling the MoA hotline, asking where your application is, you can now see whether it's submitted, in review, PO view required, on hold, and then this is the submitted column. Everything else that is authorized will be in the authorized column, and then once they're expired, they'll populate that column. Due to the volumes, that column only takes the last 6 months of expired MOAs. So those are the dashboard and review. So this is generally the dashboard. You can see the buttons here. So this is the consent application. I'll just walk through very shortly here a new application submission. And then this is the MOA activation and deactivation button. Again, some other feedback that we are trying to put in another feature given the volume of MOAs that are often activated in one day, is to have a fourth box here. And that would, you'd be able to go into that and see all currently activated MOAs. But that feature is not in place yet, something we're hoping to roll out soon. So this is your draft dashboard, application dashboard, and this is the application dashboard. So everything down here in this this section are in draft, and everything up here are the ones that you've submitted, approved, or expired. And these are the various tabs that you can see: the company details, profile, and dashboard. So we'll walk through what it looks like. It's important to keep in mind, just because it took 10 years to remove the Excel sheet, that baby steps, questions through the tabs. We're going to follow through a few tabs that basically, for all intents and purposes, mirror the existing Excel form. There's a few minor alterations just because we're now in a web version and you can just do more than you can with an Excel file. At this point, you can only add one location. We are hoping at some future point to put an actual map and having the applicants be able to drop the pin of the work location. If you do have multiple locations, I'll show you some text boxes and you can just put that information in the text box. At this point, you can add more than one impact, and there's some help text there. We'll review what we mean by impact. Basically, it's the work site. So if you have a non-lane closure during the day, and then at night you have a road closure or one lane closure, those would be two impacts, but I'll show you what that looks like. Currently, the work location, the address, uses smart text. And again, we're hoping to put in a map, and then that would then make that irrelevant. It's important to keep in mind, we'll walk through an application, what that looks like, but because the Excel sheet is going away, when you receive your acknowledgement email, it contains a PDF of your submission. And I believe that's it just for this. So that we'll walk through the application. At this point, when you start the MOA and it's submitted, the reference numbers are going to be the MOA. So this MOA, it's not authorized, but that is currently the reference number, something I was a big advocate on, and we just didn't have enough time to get it live, is to amend that so that that number isn't the actual authorized number until it's actually authorized and processed. But anytime you need through the correspondence with DOT, call the hotline, or you're needing a status check, or there's a question around an application, the application reference is the MOA. It's just not authorized. So go back to the dashboard. So I've got one started here. Let's see here to start. So in this case, you would hit the button and you would start a new MOA. And if you did that, you would start here and you would come to the eligibility page. So these are the tabs that you can see. So this is, once you complete all these tabs, it goes submitted, and then it comes to that submitted column up in the dashboard. With consent, there was some discussion around this. Oftentimes, for various reasons, you don't have consent. If you do say no, there's another question. It does populate. Has the notification proposed work's been applied for? At this point, even if you say no, and then you choose the works are just exempt, or I just don't have consent, this yellow banner will pop up. You are not stopped from submitting. This is, again, just trying to bring clarity and consistency across. It's baby steps, just baby steps.
Hello, Camilla speaking.
Yes,
hello, Camilla speaking.
Sorry, do you have a question? Yes?
All good. I think someone was on the phone.
All right. That's fantastic. It's important to note that it's just letting you know that if consent or works is determined as part of this application, that, again, those two need to be in unison. But just go back. There we go. Put the consent number, and we'll click to the next tab. Now, the application details, the boxes in gray, are pre-populated based on the information you provide. Pilots, we've trying to roll out a feature. It's not in place today, I don't think, is it? But no. So this is the great thing about the dev team. We have a dedicated team for some of the feedback that we got through pilot. One of them was the use of shared emails. So it's important to keep in mind. I can't do it here today, but I've been told by Monday it'll be rolled out. So the email address, this is the email address that the acknowledgement email and all the future correspondence goes to. It was determined that people, when they go on leave, whatever various reasons, that usually the applications submission that they go through current channels is usually submitted through a shared inbox, just so it's sort of centralizes that form of communication. This email address line will be editable on Monday, so that you can amend that moving forward, and then based on that, I think it's been determined that because another another comment was made from Pilot was that often notification, particularly for consent, but in some cases with MoAs, often other applicants or people that need to be notified are CC'd in the email. This is going through portal. Currently, that feature is not available, but I can see rationale for having yet another email line where you could add additional email addresses in a similar way to CC them, so they would get the acknowledgement email. At this point, on Monday, this line will be editable. So if you want to amend that, so it's the shared email box, at least that portion can be done. So this is the application details, works managers. You can, if they're the same, you can click it on here. Just there you go. And again, this is the part of the accreditation. We're starting to move to road categories. On the next tab, there'll be a check between the road categories of the accredited traffic company that is applying for the MoA versus the work site. I can see when we put a map up here that this check would be done with the map and the drop-in of the pin. But for now, how we're doing the check is this is part A of that check, and it'll show what it looks like in part B. Now, again, it's important to keep in mind, you're not submitting through an email, you're submitting through the portal. And oftentimes people use the email correspondence, the body text in the email, to put in a note or whatever they need to say. This is one box. There's 2 or 3 text boxes that you can put free text in and put whatever note that you might need. Now, this is the work details, similar in scope of works. Anytime you see a red asterisk, it's required field. So if you fail to complete this, I can show you what that looks like. You basically, it won't let you stop. In fact, I'll just delete it. I'll show you. The work locations, again, this is free text. So you can start typing, and it should, I've been testing this 5 Osborne. It's a bit slow. And this is until we can get a map. That's the closest we can get. If the address, for whatever reason, the traffic companies often do say work on freeways that don't have an address. Similar to the Excel sheet, you can put, Monash freeway between such and such, the suburb, the municipality, and that information there. Outside of that, you just put in address 5. It's a Victoria one. All right, there you go. And this is the second part. So this is the part 2 of the road category. There is a link here to the map. So if you're not familiar, generally road 3 categories, freeways, road 2 are the other declared roads for DOT declared roads. And then road category 1s are council roads. So whatever you put in here, if you're already authorized for a road category 2 and you're working on a freeway, it won't let you process, and it'll say either the planned designer or the implementer are not credited for the work location identified. We'll click next, and you can see the form cannot be submitted, and it'll say scope of works. So there you go. That's what that error looks like. Okay, so the impacts are slightly different. There is help text. Again, if it's not clear, we're always looking to see if create some feedback, and we can always try to clarify any of the text in here. So it's, again, what we were trying to say is you want to add an impact, and you can work through the description, the dates of the week, the days. What we were finding with Pilot, it's so smart, I guess, if you'd like to use that term, that you don't want to manually put things in. It doesn't work. So it's actually designed to use the calendar in place, and it's just more of a formatting thing. And that way it'll let you go. Again, additional information. Maybe this is where you would say, I have two locations with similar impacts. Location 1, you could put the address, location 2. This is the TGS numbering system. Because we aren't in the Excel file, we are allowed to do a few things. So if you do a lane closure, there's additional drop downs, the number of lanes. If you don't do the lane closure, then some of those fields go away, which makes sense. So you submit your application, your impact. The number of impacts are located here. And then some of the other questions, impacts at this point. When you click on these buttons, there's not an automated notification to the DOT bus industry. So keep that in mind. But again, I can see in the future state, again, I was told not to promise anything. So there's just enough money for phase 2, and there's already a large laundry list of what we're trying to, new features we're trying to get on. Similar on the Excel file down towards the bottom, permanent devices that would need to be changed or covered, and additional information. Often, if you need to upload the documents, again, how I've been couching this, 95% of the way you work and interact and process and correspond with and don't correspond with doesn't change. So the biggest change the portal brings, there are two ones. One, the Excel file goes away. Two, you get to activate and deactivate on the dashboard. Outside of that, any forms, documents that you would need to submit, you still need to submit. So again, 95% of the way things work does not change. Just always want to emphasize that. I know change is scary, but in this case, it truly is small baby steps. You can upload the documents, choose the folder. I was playing around with this. You can check the documents, and you can upload one or more documents. Let's see. Show everyone more. So here we go. Training. You can just click one, or you can click all of them. Click on that. Upload. There you go. All the terrain, these would be all in TGS. If you have to do the hazard assessment, you might click a different form. Click next. We've timed it. Once you get going, it's roughly the same amount of time with the Excel sheet. Again, this is very slow because I'm trying to walk you through it. And then the last page, you would click on these. If you don't click on them, you can't submit. So it's just moving through and acknowledging that the application is set. I'm hoping that some future state, I know there's a lot of disagreements. Everyone, all the traffic companies that I spoke with when I was in the permits team always said their submissions were perfect and that DOT was on DOT's fault. And I've never come across a traffic company that's ever said their traffic plans aren't perfect. So I'm hoping that some future state, we can use the portal to walk traffic companies through better sets of questions that ensure that the application actually is as accurate as they say it is, and therefore reducing the burden on both themselves and DOT for the quick turnaround times. But at this point, we've now gone through all the tabs, the eligibility, the application details, the work details, the impacts, devices, and the declaration. Once you have finished this, again, there's no fees associated with it. You click next, and that is you've now submitted your MoA application. And that would be it. So the fee summary is going to be 0 because that feature is actually in place. But again, there's no fee attached to MoAs. So you would hit submit. And here you go. That application, it takes a few minutes, timing it. It's not super instant. But if you go to your dashboard, you can see that it's still technically in draft, but it's now processing. So it takes 2 or 3 minutes. And eventually this application will go into the MoA row, and the submitted will go from 45 to 46. And do want to wait. There's one more slide because I did want to show you the acknowledgement email. I just, yeah, I could probably just mention it here while we're waiting. It's important to keep a note. So the current system, the way it's used is basically it's an old IBM notes system, and that's where that's where the majority of MoA submissions go through the permits team. And because of that, and it's just an Excel form or an email database, people submit status requests, extension requests under different references. The idea between the logic and using the portal, sort of the front door to OneView, is collecting and ensuring all correspondence are contained under one application. With that in mind, again, as we've always said, it's really important to reply directly to any email correspondence for a particular application. You will note in the current state, there's that funny long digit 200 number, 22022, which is the year, followed by a few other digits. That goes away. And you'll get a new reference number, the MoA in this case. But at the end of the, if you look at all correspondence, like even the acknowledgement email, that comes from, see if I can get this one, but I'll show you one in the meantime, so we don't waste dead air. There'll be what's called a tracking number. And that tracking number, as long as we've been testing it, they're still making sure that it does work, but it's been designed so that it captures that correspondence. So as long as you have the tracking number, see currently this one, because it's UAT, it'll be, oh, it's not big enough. There. This says UAT because we're in the UAT. This isn't the live environment for demonstration purposes. There'll be a TN number, and this is the tracking number. So as long as that's in the subject line, all correspondence, in this case to MoA 9358, will go directly to MoA 9358. Let's see if we can, is this moving quicker? Just show you 45, still so slow. I'll do another slide, but eventually we'll get to 46 and I'll show you what that looks like. When you do see the email, that's sort of, this is the acknowledgement email. I was playing around with this earlier. Again, like I said, there's the PDF version for your files, and it's just a PDF of your submission. So it contains all the information. This is not an MoA. This is an MoA submission. This is the application that's currently under review, along with all the other documents. And at some point, it will actually turn into the MoA. That's why I just want to clarify that. And then at any time, it's not a two-way system. So think of this as the front door. All the documents submitted through the portal are actually housed in OneView in the back end of the DOT servers. However, at any time, particularly given that often the designer is the one that designs and submits, and the implementer in often cases will be a different company. In that case, the implementer won't have access to on their dashboard, but they'll be able to activate and search for the MoAs. Oh, that's what we can do while we're waiting for this. So I'll show you that. So in this case, so we've done the MoA button. This is the consent button. This is the MoA activation button. So I've got a number here, what you would do to activate, deactivate, while we're waiting. So I've got 1, 2, 6, 4, 8. You can search by impacts or location. This one just has 4 impacts. So again, you can have multiple impacts just showing the differences. If they have signal trims and you try to activate it, again, 95% of the way you work doesn't change. When you have trims associated with an MoA, you still call TOC. That's still how it works today. Similarly, if you have LUMs, you'll get a similar, still called TOC at this number. The other one would be, so you can see the dates and the time. So this is valid, but when you try to activate it, you get this to make sure it's activated and approved dates and times. And that's because it's only valid Saturday and Sunday. Today is Monday. So this one, you'll be able to activate. It's valid with the dates and the weekday times, which it is. Today is Monday. and it's not 5 o'clock yet, and you can see you can activate. Similarly, when you finish, you would search for the impact or the location. We can show you that because this is now dashboard. So now it's 5 o'clock, 4:55 actually. It's more what it should be. So it's 4:55, you're about to finish up. You'd come in, search for the impact, and deactivate. And now that's done. And that's a live, the system in the back end with one view sees the activation and deactivation. We have tested it. That can be done on across different platforms, so laptops, desktops, smartphones, and across OS and non-OS PC systems. And 46, here we go. So to take a second, we're up to 46. You can see this was the submission. And if you click on that, there's two ways to click on the documents. You can click on this hyperlink, or you can click on here. And the document submission is there along with the documents you've uploaded. Gotta wait a second. And the last slide. MoA extension change requests. Again, this was a big hitter. We are hoping to roll this feature out soon-ish, in the next few months. So extensions, until told, extension and change requests are submitted via email. So again, it's important to look at those acknowledgement emails or any correspondence attached to any one particular email, MoA application. And I'll show you the new forms. So we got new portal forms, again, trying to streamline it. There's no reason to, the old one was just based on the Excel sheet. So we're hoping to make everyone's lives easier. We are looking to add both of these features in some future state. This has been an opportunity for DOT to sit back and reflect on where they're trying to get at, reduce the burden of workload and error and confusion. So with that in mind, the extension requests are for applications that are not expired. And prior to the MoA, the change requests can be applied once it's authorized. The DOT is trying to shift towards all new portal submissions. So if it's authorized and you need a change request, you need to submit a new portal submission. Again, that could be based on a case-by-case basis, but the advice I've been given to tell industry is these are the current business rules that are going to be in place once the portal's live. With the new submissions or the new forms, you can see down here in knowledge base, you can download these and have them on your record. In your own devices. So additional forms, there's the MoA permit extension, MoA change. There's no MoA fees, so there's not a refund request, but if there is a refund request for a consent, that's where you find it. The permit extension form looks like this. So you would fill this in per normal, attach it to any correspondence relating to that MoA. So again, if you just want to extend all of your impacts, you can just do that. Or if you have multiple impacts or only one particular you want to extend, the new end date and the reason. That's it. So that's the new extension form. I think it's much simpler than the existing form. The change reform looks funny, but it's also been designed in a way to, again, reduce the burden with changes. Change requests, it's only one or two pieces that are changing. Everything else doesn't change. With that in mind, we still are using an Excel form. Gotta love Excel. But we have multiple tabs now. So it does look a bit hectic, but again, it's designed in a way that hopefully minimizes the burden. So if nothing is changing for any particular aspect on your form, then you just leave no. It's only when you need to click yes that you would fill in that row. So the application details are located on this tab. And then the other tabs are just because we have multiple impacts. So because that new feature has been introduced with Portal, we're trying to accommodate that. So it does look a bit scary, but it's designed in a way that hopefully you only need to fill in the form of the things that have changed from the original submission. So I've covered a lot. I believe that is it for the more formal training. I'm happy to go through anything else or, come back a step. But this is, and again, it's important to keep in mind, this is the first training session. So tomorrow's training session will be targeting consent applicants in that part of the industry. And then following that, you can watch this space if you haven't registered for the traffic management reform newsletter. A lot of the information is being attached to that. So please sign up for that newsletter. And that way you can keep up to date. And if we have future training sessions, more targeted training sessions, then we can do that. That's part of my role, is to have follow-up training sessions. So we just need to figure out what that looks like moving into the future. So questions, concerns? So just to reiterate, so on Monday, the 17th, everyone will hopefully receive that email. If you've signed on as you being the initial contact, and you're going to then onboard your company, and then accept minus the accepted forms of special events, MRPV, Big Build, and those two different types of consent applications, developer funded and the Big Build Alliance. If you're not one of those, the applications would then be submitted through portal. Oh, there's been a few questions in there. Are we getting questions on the?
Yeah, I've been answering those.
Okay.
I think I'll answer the other question as well. Yeah, the other stuff. So there's no phone app, and the website does work on the phone.
Yes.
Phone.
Yeah, that would be a big.
The other question is any changes in time requirement for application to be submitted. That's the same. So we're not changing the business process and the time frame. This is just a new way of submitting MoAs, but all the other business processes remain the same.
95% of how you work and engage with DOT doesn't change. So it's still the same 15-day turnaround and the same way. So if you need to follow up an application, just ensure you are replying to that email that's associated with the MoA. And that way the system has been designed that there's a tracking number in the subject line, and that tracking number will direct your communication directly to the applicant, to the application, that application in the system.
I think Tobias has a question.
Yes.
Yeah. Just with like research, you were searching for the MoA number for activating and deactivating.
Yep.
Is that the only numbers that will come up are the ones that are associated with your account, or can I look up any MoA number?
It's going to be the ones that basically for if you're the implementer. So what I was looking at, so it's been designed. So if you're the designer and you're not the implementer, I've been told that the PDF of the MoA, although it's a bit strange because I think by law the implementer needs to have a copy of the PDF or the MoA on site, but I guess the designer can forward that to the implementer. But the implementer's dashboard, they can go into their own dashboard and search up the impact, and that impact should come up because they're listed as the impactor.
Yeah, cool. I was looking more from a security standpoint. I was making sure the industry is well past these days, but I remember the days of people screwing with other people's MoAs if they know the numbers and stuff.
Yeah,
and making sure you can't see anything else.
Jeez, that's dodgy. No, yes, only if you. It is shady. No, so
good.
anyone.
That's good.
Yeah, anyone that's listed. So where the sharing is, and that's where, I mean, at this point, it is a bit of internal management. So with the larger traffic companies, I mean, look, I can see what I'm trying to say is this. If there's a feature or something that's come up through industry feedback that industry perceives something in dashboard that's it's a safety or a risk, like potentially to workers, then we can try to implement that sooner than later. Having an additional like an admin type role so that only some staff within the company can activate and deactivate, and only some staff can submit. At this point, it's an internal house. It's just how you manage your own staff. It's not, there's a bit of risk, but it's really managed. That risk needs to be managed in-house. But again, the portal's been designed to help industry. So I can see the need for that, particularly larger traffic companies. So we're not going to promise, but it does make sense. It's a relatively easy win for us. So we can try to roll that out, in the next month or so. There was other feedback from pilot that the dashboard contains a lot of MoAs. So we're looking to implement a potential search bar that you can just search for the MoA that you're looking for, as opposed to going down, and if you have 150 approved or 150 submitted, you don't need to go through and scroll through each of the, it does get a bit cumbersome. So those are some easy wins that we're looking to see if we can roll out relatively soon.
On that note, actually, about the numbers, with let's say I've got a traffic controller that I need to activate a certain what do you call it, impact on a certain MoA. I can just give them that reference number and they can search it if they are registered on our account.
That's correct. If they're registered as the implementer on the MoA and they've been registered for portal, they can search that and they can find that impact and activate and deactivate.
Okay.
Yep.
This might be a dumb question, but
no dumb questions. Yes, go.
Seeing as we can't track by the tracking number or do a search via that, is there a number that stays from the start all the way through to the finish so we can link those up on a spreadsheet or something like that?
The MoA, yeah. So it's not. I think it's not a great look for DOT because it's the same MoA that's going to be authorized. So yes, that. So if it's MoA 33565 in the submitted, that number will be MoA 3565 when it's authorized.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So watch that space though, because I'm very passionate about trying to fix that. So the reference number will be different from the MoA authorized, but on launch date, that's how it will operate. So for any searching on the records from your side, the industry side, the one submitted and the one authorized will be the same MoA number. Similar for consent as well. So not a dumb question at all. No other questions. Wow. All right, that's great. Now, look, I would strongly suggest, I'm trying to figure out, I'll talk to the team to see how we can potentially share the link or at least start circulating the training material. I can't see why that would be a bad thing. The team's done a really good job. One team member in particular, Andy, who's the product owner. It's very clean. It's very clear. During pilots, most of the feedback we got from the pilot participants was that it was very straightforward submitting through portal, which is what we wanted to hear. We weren't trying to make everyone's life harder. So, and the training material's it's very easy to read, step by step. It walks you through. So I would strongly suggest starting there. And then any other questions or queries, then you can start reaching out to myself and the RAP.support support. And that's our job, is to help support industry, making this a smooth transition. One final point it's important to keep in mind. It's not great, but this is what happens with change. So on Monday, up to Monday, everyone will have submitted MoAs. That's just the nature of the beast. No one's going to stop. So if you've submitted your application through the existing channels, you need to communicate with the DOT teams in those channels. If you submit the MoAs through portal on Monday, reply to those acknowledgement emails. That's why I'm saying it's always important, whatever correspondence tied to a particular application, whether it's the existing channel or the portal channel, those will remain. And eventually this channel will hopefully sunset at some point and we'll just focus into the portal / OneView channel. But for the next foreseeable future, at least for the next 6 months, if not longer, there will be the two channels operating. If for no other reason, then until we get Big Build and MRPV and everyone else, we'll need the other channels to remain in place. Anything else? Perfect. All right. Oh, It's relatively straightforward. That's sort of the comments that we've gotten. Location numbers are separate. Yes, impacts. Yeah. So the impact number and location numbers are separate. Mandy's. All right. Can I go through this? The impact number replaces, no, the impact does not replace the location number. So yeah, I mean, that is sort of how standard it is now. It's just with the Excel form, it doesn't say the word impact. So I think it's time slot. It's like time period 1, time period 2. It's very old. So in some ways, think of the time period at the end, that bottom of the Excel sheet, as the impact. So because the portal is the way it is, you can have 10 impacts. So the impacts are what you activate and deactivate, because even if you search by location, what you're actually activating is the impact. You don't actually activate a location. So a location is the location anywhere in Victoria, and the impact is the type of work being implemented, the traffic devices. So if you have a non-lane closure, just a speed reduction during the day, that's one impact. In that same location at night, you have a lane closure. That's a different impact. So there are 2 impacts, same location. So you activate and deactivate the impacts. We're just trying to make that cleaner. It's sort of clean in the Excel sheet, but it's that terminology that's a very old Excel sheet. So it's not physical, that terms aren't actually on that Excel sheet. We understand this is a okay, good. Did I get everything else? Is the impact? If there's no internet connection to activate, deactivate, how do we do this? Now, this was another question that we did get. Look, DOT can do a lot of things, but we can't solve Telstra's problem. So I guess I put the question back to you. This was brought up during pilot. How would you activate and deactivate if there is no internet where you're at currently? And I think what they would often do is either they have a radio and they'd radio back to their home base, and they would activate and deactivate for them, for their team member out on site, or if the mobile phone somehow worked but the internet didn't, they would call in to TOC. So currently, again, 95% of the way you work now doesn't change. So if there's no internet out in rural parts of Victoria, if you can't use the dashboard to activate, deactivate, you'll have to activate, deactivate through other means, how you currently do it now. Love to solve it, but we have too many other problems. So complain to Telstra, sorry. Can the designer, applicant, activator be from different companies? Yes, again, 95% of the way things work don't change. So currently on the Excel form, often the works manager is different from the designer and different from the implementer. So those information can be slightly different, or not can be, it can be different, not slightly different. They're either different or they're not. So I apologize for that English, whatever. So yeah, it's either you can have different companies or the same company for everyone. Thanks. All right, good, Gary. All right, I think no one wants to talk. All right. Are we again? Watch this space. Should we show them the survey? Hopefully, everyone's filled the survey in. This is I can show you the hyperlink. We can put that in. Send out. So there is a survey that hopefully everyone has seen. We can. I'll put that in the chat. So keep in mind, you complete that survey in the chat. If you look at it, what it will show you is, show you the portal. Just if you click on that link, so just come over here, and you will complete it's a survey, but we're just trying to capture it. So what we're trying to do is get as many names as we can prior to launching it. So it's just basically it's the same privacy collection statements that you would see doing portal. So it basically asks for it confirms your business name, your contacts, your ABN number. It takes about 2 or 3 minutes. You complete that. The person nominated in that survey is the one, or at least the email will be the email that receives that first initial correspondence, that registration. So, and again, sorry, I apologize profusely for that mistake. I'm sure other people will make it. The first time you do it, you don't sign in, you sign up. It's a tiny little hyperlink in the bottom. After that, you can save your details and then you can just sign in subsequent times. So that's what that survey link is for, trying to capture that so we can send out the registration. So at that point, you fill in the survey and that's all you have to do. And then on Monday, when we push the button to go live, we'll send out the automated registration emails.
I think one last thing is we understand some traffic management companies may have a lot of users that you want to create. We do offer an option of bulk creating users for you if you have more than 30 users that you want to create. So this is probably more targeted to those with a lot of users. So if you do have 30 plus users that you want to create, you can email that to us and we'll send a template out both in this meeting and also in an email. And you can send it to wrap.support before COB Thursday, so we can have those created in a timely manner.
Fantastic. All right. All right. Any other questions? We'll bring this session to a close. Again, tomorrow's session will follow a similar format, but we'll walk through the industry through the consent side of things. The dashboard roughly the same. It's just those boxes again. Only accredited traffic companies will have the extra 2 boxes. So the submission of the MoA, any activating, deactivating. Outside of that, the dashboard for non-traffic management companies is exactly the same. So they can monitor, they can submit their consent applications, monitor them, onboard the users. And that's how the application for consent will also be submitted from Monday, the 17th. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, look, yeah, as long as you can register as of Monday, if you can activate, if you have a live valid MoA and you're going to try to activate it during live times on valid dates, I can't see a reason why you shouldn't be able to activate on Monday. So yes, as long I don't know how long it's going to take for your portal dashboard to populate with your live MoAs. It might take 5 minutes or 20 minutes. So maybe it won't be an instantaneous thing. But yes, some point during Monday, when you register whatever's in the OneView system with live valid MoAs that are under your company's name, you should be able to activate, which is great. All right, great. All right. Yeah, except for plums and trims, per normal. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Have a lovely day. And again, any suggestions, feedback, wrap.support, the MoA hotline will be amended soon, and then there'll be a new button you can push to reach out. But again, I'll be fielding questions. The first thing I'll be asking is, have you looked at the training material? And if you haven't, I'll direct you to there. But if there's an error, you're just having problems with the portal, that's my task, is to walk you through it. We can screen share, and I can make your life easier. But again, training material first. All right. Have a lovely day. Thanks, everyone.
See ya.